defeating the terrorists across the country and maintains control over the hills near Abyad Road in Al-Hasaka. Politicians, parliamentarians and media personnel from 25 countries discuss fighting terrorism and religious extremism in a two-day conference. The Languages and Civilizations event is launched at the Higher Institute for Languages at Damascus University. Good afternoon. The International Conference on Combating Terrorism and Religious Extremism, which has brought together political, religious, cultural and social delegations and figures from 25 Arab and foreign countries, continued its activities in Damascus today.
During the conference, Prime Minister Halki affirmed that hosting the conference in Syria, the Prime Minister reiterated that the war targets the entire Syria, homeland and people, and not only the regime. He affirmed that the Syrian government will proceed with its efforts in fighting terrorism, as it will continue boosting the combat capabilities of the army and the armed forces. Minister of Justice Najm Ahmed also addressed the attendees, criticizing double standards of some countries towards what is taking place in Syria and their attempts to give legitimacy to the acts of the terrorists who are fighting the Syrian people. For his part, Minister of Religious Endowments Muhammad Abdul Sattar Sayyid highlighted the need to focus on a conclusion that Wahhabism is a terrorist mentality and called for a Security Council resolution banning Wahhabism, promoting curricula and blocking websites used to spread Takfiri and Wahhabi thinking. Discussions focused on international law's position on terrorism and how to confront terrorism on the global regions. Participants in the conference said that the terrorism targeting Syria poses a threat to the entire world and that terrorism is being backed by the West to destroy the region's societies, asserting that the true principles of Islam have nothing to do with the terrorists' heinous acts of murder and slaughter.
As a member of a large American delegation who are present in the Syrian Arab Republic, I just want to say that it is an honor for us to be here at this important conference for a number of reasons, not least of which is the spatial connection between the American people and the Syrian people. I remind you that it was in the mid-19th century when the first large number of Arabs came to my country. They were Syrian. The Syrian people and their leaders have built America over the last 150 years, and our relationship today between the people of your country and ours is strong. And I think for that reason and others, it perhaps will have more credibility, because hopefully coming out of this conference will be a resolution calling for the Security Council to act on the earlier resolution on terrorism. And that obviously is important for Syria, which today is in the crosshairs of terrorism.
The participants emphasized the need for Arab countries to set up a counter-terrorism mechanism, denouncing the U.S., which supports terrorism while claiming to combat it, and noting that the terrorist organization ISIS is securing funding by selling stolen Iraqi and Syrian petroleum, as well as receiving donations provided by Saudi regime, Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE, among others. They also called for combating terrorism by removing its sources, promoting a comprehensive enlightenment, exposing the Western policies and the role of U.S. intelligence agencies in supporting Takfiri movements. The participants stressed that the unilateral economic sanctions which were imposed on Syria are illegal. They stressed that the world's silence over terrorism supporting countries in the Gulf and the region violates the international laws. They also underlined that the Zionist entity is involved in all what is taking place in the region.
In the city of Ain al-Arab in Aleppo countryside, the citizens and the defense units continue their advance in more than one front. The defense units proceeded on Aleppo's road to reach the southwestern outskirts of the city, near the village of Tarmak. The defense units also regained control over a headquarter in the city center after the terrorists had taken it, following a suicide bombing in the square. On the southern and eastern fronts of the city, the defense units, in cooperation with the residents, proceed inflicting heavy casualties among ISIS, in addition to cutting their supply routes. Clashes also escalated between the terrorists and the defense units at the northern parts of the city, near the Turkish borders. In Al-Hasaka, Syrian Arab army units maintained control over the hills near the road of Abyad, killing many terrorists and destroying their weapons and criminal tools. Meanwhile, a national meeting was held by the tribal leaders in the governorate, resulting in a paperwork that aims at reactivating the role of the tribesmen and their support to the Syrian Arab army, as well as activating the role of the national reconciliation committees. In Homs, 101 wanted persons have turned themselves in to the authorities in the areas of Jandar, Al-Rastan, Talbisa, Tel Kalakh, and some parts of Homs city. They were released after pledging not to carry out any act that may undermine the security of the country. Earlier, on the 18th of November, 131 wanted persons turned themselves in with their weapons to the Syrian authorities. The Iraqi armed forces fought ISIS attempts to control Al-Walid crossing on the western borders of Anbar governorate and inflicted heavy losses upon them. The Iraqi forces supported by the tribes confronted the ISIS attack against Al-Ramadi city. In the Diyala governorate, the Iraqi forces carried out a qualitative operation in Al-Miqdadiyya suburb to the east of Baquba and killed 12 terrorists. Meanwhile, the Iraqi forces started military preparations to clean Ninawa governorate from ISIS. In Saladin governorate, a police source said that a leader from ISIS has been killed, along with 32 terrorists, in confrontations with the Iraqi security forces to the west of Tikrit. In a new proof of the connection between Erdogan's regime and ISIS, head of the Peace and Democracy Party revealed that ISIS terrorists launched an attack on Ain al-Arab Syrian town from inside Turkish territories, saying he has images and video clips as proof. He wondered how those terrorists were allowed into Turkish soil through the borders without being stopped by Turkish border patrol units. This, as tons of reports and facts on the ground prove that the government of the Justice and Development Party has been funding and arming terrorist organizations in Syria, which led to the spread of those groups further. Hundreds of Turks took to the streets denouncing the support provided by the Turkish government to ISIS in Syria. Angry crowds demonstrated in the southern cities of Diyarbakir and Morsit Dinar against Erdogan's support to ISIS. Meanwhile, police forces of Erdogan's regime assaulted students who tried to protest before Erdogan's palace against the high school expenses. Security forces used tear gas, beating up the students and arresting 22 of them. This is the first protest to be staged in front of Erdogan's palace. The UN started an investigation over the abuse of migrant workers in the UAE and the violation of their rights to the extent of slavery. The Guardian disclosed that the investigation started following complaints by the International Trade Union Confederation, pointing out that Gulf states were unable to maintain a legal framework of respecting the rights of migrant workers. The Languages and Civilizations event was launched yesterday at the Higher Institute for Languages at Damascus University, organized by the university in cooperation with the Iranian and Armenian embassies and the Russian Cultural Center in Damascus.
The event involves 3 cultural weeks for Iran, Armenia and Russia, in addition to movie screenings, lectures, seminars and a book fair, with the event concluding on December 18th with marking the World Arabic Language. Higher Education Minister said that this event is a chance to strengthen the cultural ties between Syria and the friendly countries, stressing the importance of languages in spreading the exchanging science and knowledge. For her part, the representative of the Armenian ambassador to Syria said that this event will help bolster the academic cooperation between Syria and Armenia and showcasing the Armenian culture, asserting the embassy's readiness to support any similar activity. In turn, cultural consultant at the Iranian embassy in Damascus said that the strong bonds between Syria and Iran is due to the shared history of their civilizations, noting that Iran provided about 250 university scholarships for Syrian students. Similarly, Assistant Director of the Russian Cultural Center pointed out to the deep-rooted Syrian-Russian relations in the field of culture, with the most recent milestone in them being the recent opening of a department for Russian language and literature at Damascus University.
The Higher Language Institute at Damascus University organized this activity in cooperation with the Russian Embassy and the Iranian Embassy and the Armenian Embassy. Of course, the 3 countries provided input into this activity in the form of lectures by specialists and people interested basically in civilizations and languages. And the activity includes also an exhibition of paintings, particularly from the Iranian Cultural Center, and an exhibition of books. I think what's important in this activity is the fact that it highlights the importance of a multiplicity of languages, the importance of dialogue, using different languages, and what's more important is the dialogue between and among different civilizations. The Higher Language Institute at Damascus University has always been at the forefront of promoting the teaching of languages, of course including the teaching of Arabic language to foreign students, in addition to the other departments which teach English, French, Russian, Armenian, Kurdish, Chinese and Spanish and other languages. So I think this activity encapsulates all these efforts made by the Higher Language Institute in order to promote language learning, cultural interaction and dialogue among civilizations.
I think that knowing the other and knowing the friend is a very good way in helping us know ourselves. It's a very important activity in helping us know ourselves. And this event in its linguistic and cultural dimensions, it's also a chance for acculturation, knowing similar nations, their experience in struggle, their experience in a struggle in the fight for a better life. It's a chance for knowing ourselves better. It's a chance for meeting. It's a chance for learning and widening our horizons. I always love events like this and hope always to benefit and raise the level of our awareness through them. Thank you.
Thank you. These conferences reflect how we are collaborating with other cultures and how we are open to other nations and how we want to build the bridges amongst nations. And in this regard, I wish the best for our country. I wish the best for our friends from other countries, for the well-being of those nations who work together to fight against terrorists and terrorism, and who want to build the human being.
As part of the event, a book fair was opened at the Higher Institute showcasing works of literature and linguistic textbooks, in addition to paintings from the Iranian heritage, along with the traditional Iranian handicrafts.
With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region, and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Sirina, but after a short break.